Hi, I'm Taylor. Welcome back to my channel. I'm an American expat living in Malaysia, and I like to share my life and travels with you. Well, today I'm going to start a new series. I'm going to be interviewing other expats who've retired to Malaysia and what brought them here. I think you'll find it interesting. Stay tuned. Okay, we're going to start out with my new friend Richard today. He's an interesting guy. He started out in the UK and he's ended up retired in Malaysia. Let's talk to him and see how he got here. I'm here with my friend Richard, who I met through my channel, and he wanted to share his life and how he got to Malaysia, and I thought you all would be interested in it because he's a really interesting guy.
Everyone has a life story.
So, just a little background for everybody about where you come from, where and how you got to Malaysia.
Okay, well, I was born near Liverpool, north of England, and I went to a secondary modern school, and when I was 16 I left and started my nurse training. My father was a registered nurse, and my mother, and two aunts. So I started psychiatric nursing first. I did 4 years of that, and then I went to do general nursing, and I did a course in intensive care and excellence in emergency. And my dream was always to travel, at least, around the world, I hope. So when I was 24, I left England on my way to Australia, and my journey was 23 countries through Europe, Middle East, and Asia, and it took me 6 months to arrive. And I arrived in Sydney, and then my brother arrived in Adelaide, Australia, and then so I moved over there, which I ended up working there for 30 plus years. Retired when I was 65.
That's fascinating. So once you left the UK, you never went back to live?
No, my intention actually was to travel around the world, and I went halfway, and I was intending
got stuck.
Well, I arrived in Adelaide eventually, and the job, I enjoyed the work, and I met my first partner there, and exactly settled down. And my dream was always to have a small farm, some acres anyway, and eventually moved to 20-acre property, 1 house out of that.
Wow.
When we went there was no house, just a garage. But the land was just perfect. It was a valley, natural valley with a creek flowing through it. And it was a wetland area, lower end anyway. So it was quite reasonably priced. But I like the possibilities of being in the lake, which you eventually did. So we made a bird sanctuary, water, aquatic
park, yeah.
And I always had a dream of building my own house, which we did 16 years later. We thought we'd pay off the land first, but I always had a thing about building my own house and not building my own house. So I collected lots of interesting architectural pieces, doors, windows, big beams. I always had a love affair with wood, so I wanted to collect big beams, which we did.
And did you do most of the design yourself?
Oh yeah. So again, basically I designed the house with what we had. So the lengths and widths of rooms were dictated by the lengths of the beams.
Wow.
So some of the things that I purchased were, I used to get up in the morning on Saturday early and look in the salvage section. So they were demolishing somewhere interesting, like a warehouse or a church. I'd go along and you could purchase windows and doors directly. So it was
recycling and upcycling, yeah.
And we designed the house.
So after you sold it, you decided to leave Australia, or did you think about any other countries to move to besides Malaysia? And how did that come about? How did you come to Malaysia?
My partner died. I was struggling a little bit because I had what I had developed was bed and breakfast accommodation. And what happened first, my partner wanted to do, we decided to do, derive an income was aquatic water plant nursery.
Right.
Because we already had the lake and the creek with water plants growing. Again, growing water lilies and arbusts and everything you could think of. There was no specialist nursery in that aquatic plants in Adelaide. So we were the first aquatic plant nursery.
Wow.
So that started with that, and then people asked if they could walk around the garden. So we had 10 acres of garden, I think. So people did that, and then people asked for could they have a picnic and barbecues, and eventually people asked could they get married. So we went from there.
Oh, wow.
So we did weddings in the garden type thing.
Well, I've seen pictures. It looks like a beautiful spot for weddings. So how did you pick Malaysia? Did you have friends here?
No, after I retired at 65, having a lot of travelling, I decided that I'd like to explore Southeast Asia. So this is after I sold Amaru. Oh, that's the farm. And I moved to a house in Adelaide, in the city. And after I developed that with the garden, there was no garden. So I spent a year developing that. And then I said, okay, I'm going to travel. I retired from work, and I thought, well, I'm free now. I can go. And I thought I didn't want to rent the house out fully because I wanted the base to go back.
And you still have it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I had different students, but I've got 2 students now that.
Well, it gives you a place to get away.
Yeah, it's 2 years they've been there. So it's great. They look after the house, and they're great with the garden. So it's always maintained and up lovely.
That's great.
And I've got the bird aviary with some birds. So they look after them as well. So they really love the place.
So you traveled a little bit in Southeast Asia, and did you just like Malaysia better than other? What about Thailand or?
Yeah, well, I travelled extensively. I took a year travelling around, and in terms of I said to myself, I'd love to live in Asia because it's a lot warmer. Adelaide's got 4 seasons, so I don't like the cold. So I thought, I'd like to live in Asia. So I travelled around, and eventually, after all that, I thought, where would I live? And my first choice was Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Well, I think it's easier here because of the language. Most people.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the plus.
A lot of people are worried about moving to another country when they retire because they're leaving family behind. Now, I understand that you still have a place there, so you're able to go back, but do you still have family there, or is all your family in the UK?
Now, I've got cousins in the UK, but when I moved to Australia, my older brother came for a holiday, and my mother came for a holiday. My father passed away. So she came first, and then she went back and told my brother, and he ended up coming for a holiday and liked it so much, the lifestyle, and so then he applied for immigration as well.
Oh, wow, that's neat.
So I had an older brother and a younger brother, both came to Australia.
Now, this looks sort of obvious to me because you have a beautiful apartment here, which I'm going to show everybody later, a little bit of it. But are you maintaining your same lifestyle in retirement that you did before?
In retirement? Yeah, I love travelling, so I travel.
You still travel, you have money to spend.
Yeah, I did very well. Well, I did reasonably well out of the sale of my.
I would imagine.
Go on that as well. But yeah, so I thought, it's what you can afford, I guess. But living in Asia is quite cheap compared with Australia generally. So.
But do you think you could have stayed in Australia and lived as well as you do here on your retirement?
Definitely more expensive. Probably double the cost.
Really?
Food and travel and accommodation.
Yeah, there are a lot of Australians retired here. I know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I had heard once that Australians have to spend a certain amount of time in Australia to get their pension. Is that true? Or
yeah, I think so. But I'm a self-funded retiree.
Self-made man. Yeah.
So I was lucky enough. Well, all my half my salary was spent on the property developing it. We had barns and sheds and the lake and a beautiful garden. So I was quite surprised when we had a real estate agent tell me the price they think we could get for it.
Oh, well, I'm not. I've seen pictures. Did you consider any other cities in Malaysia, or was it just KL from the get-go?
No. I like Chiang Mai in Thailand because I like the city there. It's very arty, and you can get into the country within
Seconds.
half an hour.
Yeah.
On a
I've been there,
motorbike.
yeah.
And it had beautiful lakes and rivers and mountains. And climate-wise was really, really nice. But at the time, it was only like you have to 30-day.
30-day visa.
Yeah. So, and then if you wanted to travel, you still have to go to Bangkok, basically.
Right.
So the extra traveling and stuff.
So that is easier here to have KL being a hub of just to go anywhere you want. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's a central hub, and you go anywhere in Asia or Europe from here.
The world. Yeah.
The world. Yes, exactly. So that was it. So it's only like 45 minutes to an hour in a taxi to the airport.
Did you consider like Penang or Johor or?
No. Well, I met my partner here, so I was quite happy.
Oh, okay. Well, that always sort of decides where you're going to be. Yeah,
They were working here,
understand
so
that.
that was-
I mean, like I lived in Penang for 7 years, and so I'm a little bit biased. I do like the lifestyle there. It's a little less hectic than here. I mean, like, I've been here before. This is my second time over here at Richard. And today I came on my motorcycle and I still got lost. Now, not horribly lost, and I didn't have to get my map out, but I was lost a little bit. And I thought, oh no, I'm gonna be late, but I was okay. It's all right. But now I think I can find it without any problem. But I'm never ever gonna feel like that I know KL the way I knew Penang. I mean, Penang's just a smaller place, but it's confusing too. So it gives me hope that I will learn KL better than I know it now. I mean, I've said this before. I think it's maybe not just the young people, but young people today don't learn their way around because they just use the navigation device, and they don't like before I came over here today, I got my map out and I looked at what roads I was going to go on and where I was going to turn and all that, and they just get in the car and push the button and just follow. It just tells them where to go.
Exactly. Yeah, you get a verbal prompt, and you got the distance and where you turn left, right.
What do you like best about Malaysia?
What do I like best? I like the diversity of people.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been interested in people, and so it's got a diverse ethnicity. It's got Malay, it's got Chinese and Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And that represents, we have a lot of holidays, mostly religious holidays and stuff. So I like the colour and the atmosphere, and I think it's a very interesting city, multicultural.
Well, it is, and I enjoy that aspect of it too. But I think you've gotten the best of both worlds here in your apartment, where it looks like we're in the middle of the jungle practically, and we are in the heart of Kuala Lumpur.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say where it is because I don't want people coming over here and bothering you all the time, but I'm going to give a little tour, and so you guys can see what a great apartment this is.
We're renting first, and then I've been here for 8 years, approximately.
Do you see yourself staying in Malaysia the rest of your life?
Well, you know how you're going to live and how you're going to die. So hopefully I'd like to stay as long as I can, because I really like it. But then at the same time, I've got another special home in Adelaide. So, but we have quite cold winters, so even if I went back there to live, I'd still try and come back in the winter time.
What do you think of the healthcare in Malaysia? Have you had much use of it, or you look like such a healthy person, and it's so young looking for your age? I can't believe you're older than me.
Oh, right, okay. I haven't had any health issues actually since I've been here. 8 years, and touch wood. I'll stay that way for a while, but aging process, you're eventually going to succumb to something, maybe.
Well, I've done a video on the healthcare here. I have used the healthcare here, and I think it's amazing. I think it's better quality than the United States.
Oh yeah, I have a dentist here, and I do have a doctor here, Chinese, right? So the few times I've had an illness, I've gone to him, and I think he's excellent. It really tells you what's happening, shows you on the screen.
Right.
You don't get that in Adelaide. It's like a 5-minute consultation. Here you could spend 20 minutes explaining everything about your condition.
Exactly, and it's so affordable too.
The dentist's top notch, I think.
Yeah, I was surprised the dentistry here too seemed like better than the US too.
You have a TV screen now, so they show you inside your mouth. You can see.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to look in there.
All the modern apartments have no balconies.
Right, we don't have one.
This is the old style. My passion is gardening and wildlife and nature and art. That's what my interests are. And that's what you're probably going to see when you have a little walk around there.
Right, okay, and we can do that in a minute. But I want to thank Richard so much for inviting me into his home and sharing his story about his life in Malaysia and how he got here. I think you'll find it really interesting. So now we're going to take a break and we're going to take a little tour of the apartment so you can see what a fabulous place he lives in. Thank you, Richard. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this first video in my series where I interview expats who've retired to Malaysia. I really enjoyed doing it, and I hope to find other people to interview soon. If you're interested in being on my channel, just send me an email at the email here. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But that's it for today, so I hope to see you all soon. Talk to you later. Bye.